Good morning and welcome to the August edition of Mytech U, and today we're going to be discussing FreshStart. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen in today or in the future on the recorded session that will be posted to our website and YouTube. But today we're going to be talking about FreshStart, which is, the brand that Mytech has put around, putting your technology on a refresh cycle, putting it on a budget, helping to get predictable expenses into what is typically an unpredictable environment. So I have two folks on the phone today that are going to guide us through our philosophy, how it works, relative to potentially whether or not FreshStart might be a good option for your organization. Dave James is one of the founders of Mytech, and he'll go into that a little bit more later. He's on the phone with us today. And we have Lee Roseboom, who's Mytech's financial representative, that basically if we get into any questions that deal with, kind of the financial metrics and things like that about this program, then Lee is available also to have some conversation and can interject with any Q&A. So I would encourage everyone to use the questions on the GoToMeeting panel. I will be able to field those questions and try and interject in that. I'll do my best to interject them through the session today. And if there's any questions that we do not get to during the session today, we will make sure and follow up with you after the fact. So with that said, thank you again, everyone, for joining. And Dave, I'd like to kick it off to you.
Sure. Just to double check, you can hear me okay? Nathan, I'm going to just count on you to...
Everything sounds great.
Okay, perfect. So hi, everybody, and welcome. So my name is Dave James. I am, as Nathan said, one of the co-founders of Mytech Partners. I'll hit on a couple of, a little bit of a biography for myself here in a moment, but we're going to talk about a program we have here at Mytech called FreshStart today. It's a program we named FreshStart strategically because, as I'll elaborate on a little bit later, it gives our clients or businesses a chance to kind of rejuvenate a network that might have suffered through some degradation through the years, through either lack of annual investment, and there's a million reasons, but it's a trend that we've noticed, and we all put our heads together to develop FreshStart as a way to help our clients and us conduct business in a more efficient manner. So I'd like to start by just offering a sort of very basic definition of what FreshStart is, and we'll drill deeper in a moment. But FreshStart is it's designed to help stabilize an organizational budget. It's specifically aimed at helping eradicate all the crazy crises that happen and all the random one month you spend more money than you do the next month, and then the next month you don't spend any money, and it stabilizes a budget in a way that you as an organization can truly, truly, truly count on month to month to month being very consistent. So it's about making your business, it's about making your budget for technology predictable. We achieve this by employing a sort of a holistic technology strategy, and I always use this example, and indulge me, sometimes I use strange metaphors in the way I describe things. I'm not born to be an IT person. I had a whole other career in the marketing and advertising industry before this, so I'll thank you in advance for indulging my my metaphor. So you know how we all have body parts, right? We have 2 arms, 2 legs, and our body is a holistic creature. I need 2 arms in order to pick up something. If I suddenly don't have 1 arm, it's very hard for me to be functional. So Mytech considers networks to be very similar. Through time, we've come to believe that a network has to have all body parts working correctly. If one of those body parts is not working correctly, then there's a very good chance that somehow some component of the network will fail. And when 1 thing fails, 2 things fail, and it kind of starts bleeding upstream to the point where you have a dysfunctional network. So let me go backwards just a little bit and tell you folks a little bit more about myself. So I started my career in IT in the year 2000 with Mytech, so I've been doing this going on 13 years. My personal focus on a day-to-day basis here is what I call professional services. So what I mean by that is I work mostly with healthcare organizations or financial service-related organizations, businesses that have compliance issues that they have to deal with. So a lot of my focus is on anything that has to do with compliance, like data backup systems, disaster recovery services, network security. So I spend a lot of time talking specifically about, how are you backing up your data? Is your network secure? I talk a lot about firewalls, and it's all with an eye on network security. So if you have FINRA or SEC compliance, or if you're healthcare, if you've got HIPAA compliance, almost every organization has some sort of compliance or regulations that they have to stick to. And then there's just, of course, common sense. And I think not everybody realizes some of the potential dangers in particularly in network security. So I've been one of the key members here at Mytech in developing the FreshStart program that we have. I've worked closely with one of our other co-founders, and Lee and I have worked very closely here over the last year, particularly. Lee, are you with me?
Yep, I'm in here as well.
Just wanted to make sure you're here. So Lee has been integral in helping us develop sort of the financial aspect of this program. And again, our goal is to make budgets consistent. So Lee has insight really across the whole country as to how small and medium-sized businesses are managing their IT budget. And so he's been very helpful in helping us design FreshStart. So that's kind of the highlights about me. So let me go backwards, and I'm sure everybody remembers the year 2008. It's the year, it seems like everything changed in America. The financial markets kind of crashed, and all of us, including my company, Mytech, we had to really reel in our expectations as to spending money. So a lot between then and now, a lot of businesses perished. And those of us who survived had to really watch the dollars that we were spending. So my observation as I was working with our clients, with Mytech's clients, I began to see a trend that started in 2008, but I didn't really fully realize what was happening until 2010-ish, maybe 2011. Because businesses were suddenly budget constrained, we all had to look for ways to save money, to not spend as much as maybe we were used to spending. So one of the ways I began to see almost every one of our clients not spending money was on their IT. They just, battened down the hatches and effectively said, nope, we don't have the money to spend, we're not going to spend it. I think everybody just wanted to, I know everybody just wanted to take the more conservative route and be careful about the dollars they were spending, because frankly, in a couple of years since 2008, 2009, 2010, we really didn't know, all of us who have businesses, really didn't know what was going to happen. So we took the safe route and didn't spend money. Well, the problem with that is that, meanwhile, everybody comes in, they turn on their computers every day, and computer systems, servers, hardware, they keep operating no matter what, and they get older with every passing day. So we began to see right around 2010 that computer networks were really starting to age. And I think a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations had sort of abandoned their typical tack of maybe replacing a few machines every year, or it was more about just surviving those years. So all of a sudden we all kind of woke up a couple of years later, and entire networks were starting to fail because equipment was getting older and older and older. And then what happens is the costs of correcting that problem become really painful. The nearly insurmountable, really. The cost of looking at a network, and where do you start if everything's consistently old or past warranty and breaking down? Office alone, for example, just use software. Microsoft Office software can range in price, as all of you folks know, I'm sure, from $300 to $600, $700, depending on which licensing you purchase. And so if you wanted to update your Office licensing, then, and you had, multiple users, that could add up to, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Probably not the best example to go back to the hardware example, servers. If you have servers and they're past warranty, the cost of replacing all your servers and all your workstations all at one time, I literally have seen tabs, approach $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and it's just too much for most small businesses to bear because why? They spent the last few years, since 2008, not spending money or, just being careful, and they're in survival mode. So what does all that mean? Clients came to us and just basically asked for help. Like how can we put our heads together and come up with some sort of program that will help them be able to renew their network, refresh their network in a way that wouldn't kill them financially. And that essentially is how FreshStart was born. We designed a program that would allow us to basically take over the strategy and the planning and the maintenance and the day-to-day, all the day-to-day aspects of their network. We wanted to just we ask our clients, let us take control of it. Let us handle all the little, every little problem. Let us take care of. So that's what FreshStart is. It's a comprehensive program that basically, where our clients basically effectively give the keys to their technology to us, and we become their IT department. So let me rattle off a few statistics. And these statistics are, sort of chose these as a way of helping support why FreshStart works. So Gartner will tell us all that typical IT spend for most organizations is $250 per user per month. Now, I've presented that figure to a lot of organizations in the last couple of years, and almost uniformly the response is, oh, that's crazy. We don't spend $250 a month. But allow me to explain kind of where they come up with that number. What Gartner's doing there is they're measuring IT cost over a period of, say, 10 years. It's the long haul, right? And it takes into account every aspect of technology. It takes into account, occasional server replacements. When do you replace your workstations? How often do you upgrade your software? What about the rest of your infrastructure? Firewalls, switches, power supplies, that sort of thing. Also, it takes into account user downtime. If a network is down and there's an emergency or crisis dollar spend to get something fixed or repaired or restored. So over time, over a 10-year period, and I've seen this over and over and over again, and it is absolutely fact and true that almost every organization, no matter whether you're small or big, if they're keeping up with their network the way they should be, will spend on average $250 a month per user. And again, I'm a human being too. I understand that if you go back and look at, well, I just want to see if this is true, and you go back and look at what you spent as an organization, say in the month of May, or just pick a month, it's definitely, chances are, it won't reflect that particular statistic. So that's why you have to look at it over the long haul. You have to think about it long term. But it always plays out. I've run that formula over and over again. A couple other things: hardware lifespan, typically 3 to 5 years, which that's why, when people stopped spending money on infrastructure right around 2008, right around 2011 is when hardware started to pick up, started to show some signs of problems. People can, on average, stretch their hardware lifespan out to 5 years sometimes, not always. It depends on the hardware, but it's definitely doable. Almost all hardware warranties are 3 years. Sometimes if people buy, I guess what I would call entry-level workstations or laptops, those come sometimes with 1 year. But as a rule, most IT vendors in the country, and certainly Mytech, recommends at least a 3-year warranty. Companies like IBM and Dell and HP all will allow warranty extensions, but I point out that the average hardware warranty is 3 years because manufacturers generally expect their equipment to last in a healthy mode for 3 years. Firewall hardware is interactive. It definitely will last. It'll turn on, the lights will flash, it'll work for well past 3 years, but the evolving world of malicious content and all the various interaction that needs to happen between firewalls and people who write defensive code to protect organizations from malicious content, those firewalls are doing a lot of work, and so really effectively, I didn't write it down, but they should be replaced every 3 years as well. I run into clients all the time who have firewalls that are 6 years old, and that's not a good thing. And then, as I've already pointed out, when equipment gets older, and you start ignoring all those, a couple of those top statistics like the 3 to 5 year, the warranty, or the firewall aging, suddenly networks just start to become more and more unpredictable. On a daily basis, you can start to see and measure problems that start to pop up that maybe didn't pop up last year. Sometimes it's nuanced problems. It might be, things just sort of every day incrementally work just a little bit slower, or it might be some more dramatic thing like a server crashing, or maybe a hard drive's getting full and needs to be replaced. There's always something that needs to be done, and those things gradually become more prominent as time goes on. Let me go back just one. So the last point there, technology events historically are unpredictable. I wanted to demonstrate that graphically, and so I did this chart that demonstrates what the average company, what kind of happens in the lifespan of IT in a business environment. So historically, over the years, most small, medium-sized businesses adopt this sort of cost cycle. And what you're really seeing here is effectively it's a 10-year lifespan. So if you go to year one, so if you look at the chart, you can see 4 basic huge spikes. So starting at year one, let's just say that's when an organization invests a lot of money all at one time in a new server or servers, new hardware, whatever it is they need to make sure their network is bright and shiny and new and working. And then what most companies do is just batten down the hatches and just try to make everything work for the next 4 years. So you'll see at year 4 is, and it might be 3 years, it might be 5 years. Everybody does it a little bit differently, but at some point, every business has to spend more dollars on refreshing their aging network. So that's what those 4 big spikes are, year 4, year 7, year 10. In between, you see there's all those smaller spikes. Those are unpredictable moments. Something breaks down and needs replacing. There's a change in your organization that requires investment in more infrastructure. The firewall dies, the power supply fails, someone's laptop gets lost. You can see how I've used the word chaotic when I look at this cost cycle. It's unpredictable and impossible for a small business to orchestrate a consistent, stable budget when they manage their IT like this. So this is the basis of FreshStart. This is why we came up with FreshStart, which basically here are the components of FreshStart. See if I can think of anything I need to say about this before I let you see it. But it really boils down to 2 things. We have different varieties of FreshStart, but the one that is by far the most popular is what we call FreshStart Complete Care. Basically, it's us managing every aspect of your computer network. We offer unlimited help desk, unlimited remote service, unlimited on-site service, unlimited vendor management. So I can elaborate about those things a little bit, but they all basically fall under the category of us being, having Mytech becoming a virtual chief information officer, VCIO, they call it in the industry. It's an active and proactive IT management and consulting on our part. So, there's a lot of IT companies out there. I'm not sure of those of you on the line here. It would be interesting to get some feedback when we do some questions about how you're doing your IT now. But most IT companies, I believe this is a revolutionary way to approach IT for a small and medium-sized businesses. For a small and medium-sized business, it no longer does a client have to worry about how much extra is this going to cost me, or what if there's a problem. We just take care of everything. And the way we do that, I'm going to go all the way back around the block. And remember when I first started chatting about holistic network care, Mytech has adopted this process of we want all the body parts of a network to work correctly, right? And so that is a little more selfish than it sounds. What happens is that clients will pick and choose what they want to spend money on. And I understand, too, sometimes budget just won't handle. I mean, we can make all the suggestions, recommendations, IT-wise in the world, but if you can't afford it, you have to pick and choose. You have to budget. You have to do things over time. Well, the problem that can happen by doing things like that is that some part of the network that maybe isn't up to par or under warranty or is current might still break down, and then that forces you into your resources maybe somebody can't work. That costs you money. It allows us to know because your network is completely managed by us, we are knowledgeable about every body part. And so no matter what happens, we can more effectively fix it. And because there's no additional cost factor involved, you basically have said, you know what, Mytech, just handle it. Just take care of it. And we do. No matter what the problem is, we just take care of it. And there's no additional cost. It's all rolled into our FreshStart program. Now, one of the ways we do that is this is all part of that holistic thing. One of the ways we do that is we go in and replace everything, our dime. Mytech will literally take a look at your network, and you'll get all new equipment, new servers, new workstations, new laptops. Everything will be state-of-the-art. All users have multiple monitors if that's what you want. Usually these days, people usually want two nice big 22-inch monitors at every workstation. New firewall, all the equipment is new. And that sounds great for you. From your perspective, I can imagine you thinking, well, holy cow, that sounds fantastic. But from our perspective, it's really about us being able to manage, like we can build the network as if we're building it from scratch. We can build it correctly. And once we do that, the management of the network becomes flawless because there's no wild aces. There's no, outliers. There's no piece of equipment that's not working to spec. And
I wanted to interject a question because I imagine some folks might be thinking, okay, that's great, that but if a company only, going back to your financial slide, and you mentioned that some companies invest at roughly every, say, 4 years or 5 years, and there's these big spikes. So what if one of those big spikes was last year, right? And they just bought new workstations, they just bought some new servers. How does that work with a FreshStart? Because it seems a little, why would we replace everything if they just bought it just recently? Help me understand that.
That is a very realistic question because almost every FreshStart program that I've done, there is at least 1 or 8. So there's been some recent investment in, usually it's a new laptop these days or tablets maybe. So what we do in that case is we basically adopt that equipment into our program. So if a client, say, has 3 new laptops that they just bought last year and they really love them, they don't want to get rid of them, we're actually fine with that. If they're under warranty and they're up to business spec, we literally will just adopt those items into the FreshStart program. And so next year, if one of those 3 laptops breaks down, we replace it. And by the way, this is something I haven't said exactly. On the point, if I go to this next slide again, talking about the network hardware and software upgrade, let me hit on a couple of really fun parts about that. So this means that you as a client, as a business, will never again have to have conversation every 4 years about, oh my gosh, here we are again, and I have to replace all this equipment. How am I ever going to pay for that? So we, at our typical FreshStart program, at 3 years, we just do it. We replace everything. That's part of the golden charm of this program is you get new servers, you get new workstations, in addition, and all equipment, firewalls, everything. In addition, new monitors, everything gets refreshed. And it doesn't cost you an extra dime. It's everything is just handled. And we, even your office software, gosh, I can't tell you how many times I roll into a business and, they're still using like Office, 2003 or 2000, because it just costs so darn much to upgrade it. When we roll out, when we onboard a FreshStart client, we make sure they have the most current version of Office, and you will never again have to worry about upgrading your Office. If whenever Microsoft comes out with a new version of Office, you just get it. So Nathan, I kind of veered into a little more of the advantage aspect, but we'll roll. So you get all new equipment. If you have equipment that's recently purchased, we basically adopt that into the program.
So you brought up another point in your answer that I think is worth touching on at this time, which is, every 3 years. When you deal with hardware manufacturers, and I understand that you said firewalls based on just being able to keep up with technology, they're really, and backups are really on about a 3-year refresh cycle. But sometimes you can get servers that might be worth, going to 4 years, or workstations that might be able to go to 5 years. Laptops might only be three years. So how do you handle those kind of nuances relative to the organization? I mean, what are some of your answers to to those questions?
Absolutely. I want to acknowledge that those are real scenarios. Some equipment is perfectly fine to go 3, 4, 5 years. So I do have FreshStart clients who have 5-year programs. I have FreshStart clients who have 4-year programs. I have FreshStart clients who do 3-year programs. The cost difference, however, to our clients who choose 4 and 5 years, it's really not that different than if they just go ahead and do a 3-year program. So we've designed the program at its heart to be a 3-year event, because that's when most manufacturers' warranties start expiring. So one of the rules that we have as part of our FreshStart Complete Care program is that all equipment be kept under warranty. And some equipment you just simply can't warranty past 3 years. Firewalls, for instance, really aren't warranted past 3 years. Servers you can extend warranties on. Desktops and laptops you can extend warranties on. So I guess my answer to you, Nate, would be to say there are variables in the FreshStart program, and so that happens through discovery and conversation with a prospect, and just really determining what's right for them. I usually start with a 3-year conversation, however.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I don't know if this makes a juncture. I know Lee's on the phone here, and what if there's any impact as far as how the program is put together, like you mentioned, like the cost structure and how that can all be rolled into that budget. Is there difficulties? And let's say a customer had some existing equipment, and then they say, well, we basically did this evaluation you're talking about, Day, and gosh, I think instead of going 3 years, our servers really could go, I think, 4 years. We might, we don't really want to push them to 5, but maybe we want to take our desktops and push them to 5 years. But yeah, every 3 years we want to replace our laptops. So now we've got these different time frames of existing equipment, servers for 4 years, laptops for 3 years, desktops. Lee, I don't know, is that difficult to wrap around and just kind of put into a program, or is that, is this kind of your specialty as far as, helping make sure that all works for the unique circumstances of a customer?
And that's one of the nice things, Nate, and when you really base it around multiple different life cycles for different assets, and you can do that at times. Let's say you're adding, 10 or 12 workstations right now, and then you're going to add, let's say, an IBM server as well on top of that. We have the ability to, and we can customize it per each user with the FreshStart program. And if you wanted the IBM server to be on a 4-year cycle and the workstations to be on a 3-year cycle, those kind of things can take place, because internally we're going to be tracking those assets for you as they come to the end of term, and we can flip those kind of things with the FreshStart program, and they're going to come in and make sure that hardware stays fresh and continue to do that. But if some assets go out longer, we can customize those programs around different assets and how that works in the long run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And what you said just made me think of another question relative to, Dave, that we haven't really touched on. We somewhat have, but Lee, I'm curious. So, an organization, let's say they start with, they've got 30 people and they've got, 3 servers. Well, over the next 3 years, say 2 years from now, they might, add a custom application that requires another server, or they might add 10 people that requires another 10 workstations or laptops. That could really throw off the lifecycle management, that we've put in place. How does that really play in? And is that a real problem, or how easy is that to add on some of those pieces?
And it's actually very, very easy. And with a lot of the FreshStart programs that we've already done, there's been 7, 8, 9, 10 different add-ons that have been done at this point. It's just a Lifecycle FreshStart add-on. And what that does is, if you need to add 3 or 4 PCs and a server or a switch or something like that, it's as simple as just a single add-on, and that's going to be tracked internally on a single life cycle as well. So it's just going to, your payment may go up, and it's going to just be another 36 months added on, or another 48, depending on what that asset is. But that's going to be all billed and on the same. It's going to be taken care of as one monthly single payment. And in the long run, it's very, very easy to do at that point in time, because it's going to be tracked internally. So when that life cycle comes to the end of term, that asset is time to bring that and flip that over. And with the FreshStart program, we can absolutely do that for you as well. Very, very easy process.
So remember, guys, that the real focus of FreshStart is to make an organizational IT budget consistent and dependable. And so when growth occurs, or if a client or if a customer needs to add a new user, if they hire 3 people, one of the great things about FreshStart is it gives them a really identifiable budget number that they know, even before they hire someone, exactly IT-wise, exactly how much it's going to cost to bring on that new person. So I'll flip to the next slide here, which kind of hits on some of the financial considerations. Remember how I talked about every user? We know that Gartner tells us, and I've seen this play out in reality, that on average IT budget for most organizations is around $250 per user per month. So our goal with FreshStart was to kind of hopefully hit that or less, and I think we've been successful at doing that. Lee and I have worked hard to make sure that those budgets do in fact come in between those 2 numbers. So add a new user, let's say, just pulling these numbers out of the sky, let's say that you're spending $210 a month per user with our FreshStart program. If you're hiring 3 people, all you have to do from a budgetary aspect is you know that we're going to simply add another $210 per user to your monthly invoice. That's it. And for that, that person, those new staff will get new computers, new whatever it is they need to get started in the business. So the cost to get started, I guess as long as we're talking about financial. So I'll stop for a second. Does that answer your question, Nate?
It did. I guess the one thing that I think you'll go into here later, and I know we only have about 10 minutes left here, but that I know you're going to touch on later is, that sounds like a lot to manage. So it begs the question. Is this on the burden of the customer, or does I'm assuming Mytech handles it? Can you? At some point in the slide, maybe now, talking about just the management of those life cycles and those different pieces of equipment and the different expiration dates or the different warranty upgrade dates or replacement refresh dates. Gosh, it sounds like it's great that it's one monthly payment, but who handles all of that, manages all of it?
It's all part of the discovery that we do prior to onboarding. So we work hard to make sure we've very clearly identified what the cost per user is. And you're right, there's a lot of financial mechanics that have to go on behind the scenes, but it's all on us. We've got all that figured out. We've got systems in place to manage it. Lee and I have worked through this many times, and the burden to the client is simply how much per user is it going to cost me to add more people. And Lee, I don't know if you want to comment about the life cycle part. You're right. if you're 18 months into a program and you add 3 new people, do those 3 new people go for another 3 years? So Mytech does have to keep track of who's coming on when and how long those agreements are for.
Sure.
Yeah, and just a comment on that as well. If you're 18 months in and you're adding users, those kind of things, it's going to be on its own life cycle at that point in time. It's going to, there'll be another 36 months on those additional PCs. The good news is, though, is everything is tracked internally by Mytech here, and what we do is we focus on that, and when it's coming near to the end of term, that's when we're going to come in and we're going to flip those over again.
So I want to, I guess, expedite our time carefully here. So the cost to get into the FreshStart program on this financial slide, item 2 there, is all we ask is the onboarding cost is the equivalent of 1 monthly payment. So if your monthly payment is, I'm just, again, randomly pulling numbers out of the sky here, if your monthly payment is $1,300, that's all we need. Give us $1,300. Basically, next thing you know, we're rolling in there with all new computers and all new management techniques, and we'll upgrade your network. So that's FreshStart in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? I've got 3 case studies I can run through real fast here, unless anybody wants to throw some questions my way.
No, those questions I interjected were the ones that we're receiving, so I wanted to make sure to get those out. So yeah, I'd say I think we're good to go. Can move on at this point.
So I thought there'd be some benefit to just show some case studies. These are actual, these aren't made up, these are actual Mytech FreshStart clients. I chose 3 because they all represent different aspects of the FreshStart program. This Alliance Financial is a RIA. They're located right here in Minneapolis, relatively new to us. They've been with us for a little over a year now. Staff of 21, which is actually kind of big for a financial advising firm. They have multiple servers, not just one. That's one variable that does affect the FreshStart program. You may remember a slide earlier I said the perfect target profile for FreshStart is clients, I forget what I said, did I say 10 to 15 and up. And that is because a business with 3 employees still needs to purchase a server and workstations and all the kind of basic infrastructure, server-wise, especially firewalls, switches. And so the cost per user starts trending upward. So you'll see that as I go through these case studies. So Alliance Financial has a staff of 21, multiple servers. They formerly used just an internal IT guy. That guy is still on staff there even now. But their monthly spend with us is $4,493. It sounds like a lot, and I understand that. It equates, though, when you look at industry averages, according to Gartner, it equates to $213 per user. So if Laurel from Alliance Financial calls me up and says, we're hiring somebody new next week, we've already got all the systems in place. We know exactly what triggers to pull to get a new computer out there, new monitors, everything that new person needs, and all Laurel needs to know is that her bill next month will be $213 more than it is this month. Next case study is a company called Ribocore. Ribocore manufactures an ingredient that goes into protein drinks. Like when you go to the gym, you buy a protein drink, or nutritional supplements have protein and other ingredients. That's what they make. They've been a client of ours for a long time. They're much smaller, staff of 9 people. They also have 2 servers, which is a lot of businesses don't need 2 servers when you have a small staff like that. But their monthly spend with us is $2,594. But see what happens there, because they're under 10, their per user cost does go up. So that's a little above average, mainly because they have 2 servers. If they had 1 server, they're a high-tech company, so they need a more sophisticated network. And the result is that the per user cost is a little higher. And the last case study is a long-term client of ours called Premier Marine. They manufacture pontoon boats. They're up in Wyoming, Minnesota. Huge staff, 70 people now. Nathan, this demonstrates one of our varietals. Like we do have to be flexible, of course. They did not want our complete care program. So they wanted a slightly different program that we offer called Essentials. So it's FreshStart Essentials versus FreshStart Complete Care. So all that means is that there's a moderated level of service because of some onboard staff that they have. So the result for them is, yes, their monthly budget is $4,609. That's what their bill is from us every month. However, look at the cost per user. Super attractive, $65 per user. And that's because you can see the benefit of all, you can spread the cost across 70 users instead of 9. So that's what I got in a nutshell. So I'm looking at the clock here. Nathan, you see any feedback or questions that we can hit on with our remaining time?
Yeah, I think maybe go into the nuances of the Ribocore versus the Finance Financial. I mean, what were the certain, in the next few minutes, what were the different statuses of those networks? Did we end up refreshing everything, or were there pieces that we adopted, or how did that all work out? And just maybe, yes, you have a finance up here. So with the finance, how did that work out? How did the conversation, the dialogue between you and the now customer go?
They had been frustrated because the person that was doing their IT was also an advisor there, so they felt like that was an inefficient use of one of their staff. And frankly, there was just no way he was keeping up with the day-to-day incremental improvements in technology. Just his knowledge base, he just couldn't keep up. So I've been very active in the financial industry, and so I guess my name is out there. And so they contacted me, and we started a dialogue about how to renew their network. They're a classic example, 2011. Notice that date, 3 years after 2008. Classic example of a network that was just hanging on by a thread. Things were breaking down, a lot of downtime as a result of just a network that had been duct taped together at that point. So we replaced everything. Now, 2 of their owners did have new laptops that they had just purchased, so we adopted those laptops into the program. So today, if we got a call this afternoon and one of those laptops died or had a problem, we would try to fix it. But if it needs replacing, we literally would replace it at no cost to the client. It's on us. We would take care of it. So they had, one of the variables they had several smart boards in their office, which required, each of those required computers. And so we also adopted those smart boards into the program. The only thing we don't, that we're a little hesitant to include is printers, because printers, although we have, it just needs to be talked about depending on what you're doing with the printers. Printers are problematic sometimes, beyond the point of being able to make predictably consistent. So they chose to not include their printers in the program.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, that's good. So how does this, and so what are some of the pieces, just as a final couple comments? I mean, I think you just mentioned an exclusion of a printer, but so this covers, things like, you mentioned the Office software previously. I mean, does this cover things like spam filtering or antivirus or their ERP program, or if they have a CRM program? Like, what are and just kind of a quick list of what are the things that this typically does include when you say everything versus, but yet we have some exclusions sometimes. What does that really entail?
It includes most of everything you just mentioned, especially any Microsoft licensing, so Office and any of the operating systems involved with Office. So other applications like, say, Adobe Acrobat, or every business has line of business software that's specific to their industry. For instance, in the financial service industry, Juncture would be a good example. We're not necessarily a Juncture certified shop. However, our job as manager of their network, utilizing our FreshStart agreement, if there is a Juncture problem, they still call us, and it's up to us to figure out, all right, this is a Juncture problem. If we can fix it, we fix it. If we can't, that's when we hand it over to our vendor management team, who would call Juncture, work with Juncture to figure out what the problem is. Really, all the client needs to know is, where's Mytech? Call Mytech, we'll handle it. So most everything you mentioned in there, Nate, is incorporated into the FreshStart program. We have to customize it a little bit for every client because every client has different software.
Oh, that sounds good. Well, I appreciate that, and I also want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we are now 12:01. So I want to say thank you to Day and Lee for participating in the call today. This is Nathan Austin with Mytech. We're going to wrap up the call right now, but I do want to say thank you for everyone who attended, and for everyone who is watching this at some point in the future via YouTube or via Mytech's website. And feel free to give us a shout at Mytech if there's any questions to engage with anything relative to technology in your network. So thanks a lot, everyone, and have a great day.